is. In other words, I entitled, "Will the Real Zbigniew Brzezinski Please Stand Up?" Please stand up when you see this guy act like he's against the Bush administration. He's against imperialism. He's simply playing the role of the Pied Piper with people believing that he's brilliant, that he actually has the people's interest at heart. And we can go on and on and on, but we're going to go ahead and play this video, and it's actually about 6 minutes. And in this video, he talks about a number of things. He talks about mankind is now awake, politically awakened and stirring, saying that this makes it very difficult. It makes it a much more difficult context for any major power, including currently the leading power, the United States, to develop their one world order structure. In other words, our very awakening is a threat. They're concerned about it. And although he seems calm in this particular video, when you listen to every word that he's saying, it's fairly clear that what they're concerned about is that light bulb going off above our heads. And in my opinion, that should be something positive for you to see, for me to see, that we're making a difference, that there is an awakening, there is a shift in awareness taking place on this planet that has them freaked out. They don't want you to see that they're scared. Now, if you enter into some sort of a conflict, if you're attacked in the street, you don't want to give in to your fear. If you have to fight back for your life, you don't want to show your fear to your opponent. They feed off of that, okay? It isn't any different with them, and we're their prey. They don't want us in any way, shape, or form to see where they're vulnerable. And so they're working really hard in this matrix that we live in to create this holographic reality, if you will, that the New World Order is already firmly in place. Even though we're already under a certain form of control, the world, their dream, their vision, they want us to believe that the inevitable is here, resistance is futile, and there's nothing we can do about their plans for us. So we might as well give up and hope that by giving up and join their system, that things are going to be easier and softer, when the opposite is true, is the truth. So with that, Bill, let's go ahead and roll that clip. This is Zbigniew Brzezinski.
Just a thumbnail definition
talking to the CFR
of the geopolitical context in which we all find ourselves, including America. And in my perspective, that geopolitical context is very much defined by two new global realities. The first is that global political leadership, by which I mean the role of certain leading powers in the world, has now become much more diversified, unlike what it was until relatively recently. Relatively recently still, the world was dominated by the Atlantic world, as it had been for many centuries. It no longer is. Today, the rise of the Far East has created a new, but much more differentiated global leadership. One which, in a nutshell, involves, if one can hazard an arbitrary list of the primary players in the world scene, the United States, clearly, maybe next to it, but maybe the European Union. I say maybe because it is not yet a political entity. Certainly, increasingly so, and visibly so, China, Russia, mainly in one respect only, because it is a nuclear power co-equal to the United States.
And thanks to the fact that we gave them weapons, of course they're a superpower.
In all of the major indices of what constitutes global power.
Of course there's another reason for us to be robbed of our tax dollars to build up this military machine. Of course, Brzezinski, of course.
Germany, France, Great Britain, Japan, certainly, although it does not have a politically assertive posture. India is rising. And then in the background of that, we have the new entity of G20, a much more diversified global leadership, lacking internal unity, with many of its members in bilateral antagonisms. That makes the context much more complicated.
Infighting.
The other major change in international affairs is that for the first time in all of human history,
we've got so much info.
Mankind is politically awakened.
We are awakened.
That's a total new reality.
What they're doing to us.
Total new reality.
And this isn't going to stop.
It has not been so for most of human history.
It's not going to stop.
Until
they
the
weren't
last
expecting
100
us
years.
to figure this much out.
And in the course of the last 100 years, the whole world has become politically awakened.
Globally.
And no matter where you go, politics is a matter of social engagement, and most people know what is generally going on in the world.
Wherever Rockefeller
and are
goes, he's
consciously
confronted
aware
by those that know
global
his globalist agenda.
Inequalities, lack of respect, exploitation. Mankind is now politically awakened and stirring.
And this is a threat to their one world order.
The two, a diversified global leadership, politically awakened masses, makes a much more difficult context for any major power, including currently the leading world power, the United States.
There you go. Keep playing it.
I really enjoyed your presentation, but I'm wondering, how would you rate the United Nations in helping solve some of the geopolitical problems we've had? Some people say they're not adding a lot of solutions, and some people even suggest we should have another organization internationally that can do the job that the United Nations should be doing. And even people are talking about one world governments. I mean, how do you view the UN right now?
Well, there should be such an organization. The word "should" implies that there is a kind of moral imperative or need for it. But it doesn't exist. Why doesn't it exist? Because we don't have a situation in which there is a concentrated source of power that has universal reach. Not even America has that.
He sees this as a problem.
So the United Nations functions well in areas in which it is possible to generate consensus. And that deals usually with elements pertaining to human suffering,
buzzwords,
or to well-being.
He's a nice guy,
or to
though.
Health.
He likes us.
For example, the Food Organization, the Health Organization, the relief agencies, or arbitration of conflicts of secondary importance.
Like hands around the neck.
In which the international community can kind of endorse what the UN is doing.
Thriller.
But the UN is not a world government. The UN, when it comes to politics, is based on a fiction. Namely, 190 states which are members, each of which is co-equal with the others, except for the 5 that have the veto right in the Security Council.
That table there,
So it is an organization which reflects the ongoing diversity
it's like a model table of the world. Let's bomb this country.
As a consequence, we have to realize that real solutions to political problems, to political conflicts, come from those entities that have power and have the willingness or the ability to coalesce or get stymied in the process, or even go into conflict. The UN can deal with areas regarding which there's a great deal of international consensus.
This man has been compared to the Emperor from Star Wars.
Like the ones I've mentioned. And that reality is going to continue for some time to come.
But keep playing it. This is that quote I mentioned earlier. The technotronic era involves the gradual appearance of a more controlled society, such as society would. Soon, it would be possible to assert almost continuous surveillance over every citizen and maintain up-to-date complete files containing even the most personal information about the citizen. These files will be subject to instantaneous retrieval by the authorities. Ya masters. Zbigniew Brzezinski in 1970 book, Between Two Ages, America's Role in This New World Order. I'll tell you what, technotronic world. That book is no longer in print. It's no longer in print, and I was surprised to see that, but I guess I really shouldn't be surprised. 503-288-4442. We're going to try to go to your calls quickly, and we will also get to 2 other videos. We've got a trailer for the new film that's come out, Invisible Empire. I've also had a lot of requests to remind people about the damages to their health, from the use of cell phones and Wi-Fi. And this is not something I talk about every week. It's important to truly question the safety of some of these New World Order products and gadgets that you've got floating around your body. But certainly, I can testify for myself that, I certainly have experienced what many of you have experienced with the ringing in the ears and whatnot in conjunction with using cell phones or cell phone. And some cell phones emit more radiation than others, but at certain times in my life, I have misplaced cell phones, for example, and maybe I'd go maybe a month without one. And during that month, that problem would completely go away. Sometimes